a little. My name is EOCON, cybersecurity consultant, residing in Ghana. I've been doing this for quite a long time, and I see this as an opportunity to share with you my background, my experience and exposure in the area of security operations and assurance. So without much ado, we would have to go through the presentation quickly. There is the opportunity to ask questions that will be given, but I'll try and make it as snappy, as concise, and as easy to understand. If you have any reservations, concerns, and questions, you can bring it up when we get to that section. Yeah, thank you very much. So you can go on LinkedIn and see more about me, but because of time, I will have to move on quickly so that we can start the business of the day. Yes. So we are looking at cybersecurity operations and assurance. Anytime the word operation comes, it means day-to-day activity. So somebody asks, why cybersecurity operations? So the things that security professionals do every day to secure their clients, their company, and themselves from the adversary. When you say adversary, we mean the hackers, the bad guys, those who are in to do bad stuff on our network. So this presentation is slated in different sections. We are going to look at the difference between cyber and information security. We'll look at the steps that can lead to proper security operations, as I've really explained. And then we'll look at the cyber and information security assurance. Then we would look at how we could sum it up. And then, so let's look at the difference between cybersecurity, just a second, cybersecurity and information security. Most of the times these words are used interchangeably, but then today I want to throw more light on the two so that we will, whenever we are using it, we would be able to differentiate it very well and make good meaning out of it. Okay, so cybersecurity has to do with the protocols, the security mechanisms you would put in place in securing digital assets. Okay, in securing a company's infrastructure, its network, its businesses from the bad guys. So example, in terms of network architecture, you have to segment your internet application facing DMZ, put them in DMZ, put your firewalls configuration, set the rules on very well. Then you would have to look at security administration, how you'll be able to manage your endpoints, your AVs, your vulnerability test, your pen testing, and all that. So that has to do with the measures you have to put in place as a business or as a security consultant to secure digital information or digital assets. So this presentation, I'll be using assets and information interchangeably, meaning that anytime I use any of them, it means the same. So now, with this understanding, now let's look at information security. Information security has to do with securing anything information, whether digital or non-digital. So let's take, for instance, you have a critical company document on a hard copy. What do? First, the door leading to the office where the wardrobe storing that critical information has a two-way factor authentication. You have to swipe with your identity card and put your thumbprint on it. Security, which is classified under physical security. Then you enter the room where the cupboard is, or the drawer is, where you have kept the document, or you have saved the critical document. There's a key to the drawer. So it's a security protocol. So you are securing that information that is in the drawer or is in that wardrobe. Okay. And there's a book, a logbook next to that drawer that anybody that accesses that drawer should log in, put his name, time, stamp, and sign. So these are security protocols you are also putting in place to secure information, but this time not digital. It's physical. So going forward, anytime we are having a discussion or we want to reference cybersecurity and information security, these are the distinct differences between them, and we should get that understanding and use the words rightly so that we can really inform our audience very well. Now, without much ado, let's look at steps that we can put in place to ensure effective security operations? Already I explained. Operations means day to day, anything that goes on every day, continuously, business as usual. So what are the things that security personnel who are trained to perform security operations do? Or what should a company put in place? What protocols, what security apparatus, what controls can they put in place to ensure that as they are operating day by day, as they are serving customers? Let's say you are a banker or you are a bank, you are holding critical information of customers information. Okay, with critical customers information, you need to be compliant with PCI DSS. Okay, that's for the cardholder environment. You need to be compliant with that, and you are also setting up information system. You have to be compliant with ISO 27100. You are doing risk management, ISO 27005. So these are frameworks, or these are controls that, so to speak, guides you both at the operation level and also at the governance level. Today we won't do much governance. We'll later talk about security governance later, but let's focus on security operations today. Yeah, so first and foremost, you have to identify your information, your sensitive information, okay? Because you cannot protect what you see. Anytime I'm consulting and I'm giving advisory service to my clients, I tell them, I cannot protect, or we cannot protect what we do not see. And again, what is critical and sensitive to a business is where security controls or protocols has to be focused more, or first, or should be a priority. So, for example, we are a financial institution, we are a cardholder environment. What is our most critical asset, critical information? It's the customer's data, because when it's breached, we will face regulatory issues. The law enforcement will come after us, like what happened recently with Uber. Their CISO tried to be economical with some of the incident responses, or incident that came up, or some of the breach, and it became a whole lot of things. I think he's going through trial or something, or it's done. So these are things that we need to, as security consultants, we need to tell or advise our clients. So first, we need to identify our sensitive information. Then with this, we can be able to protect these information. And you can do that, like I've mentioned here, by doing your first risk assessment. Okay, and risk analysis. You do your pen testing, you do your scans to, so to speak, see your critical asset and see how vulnerable they are in the hands of hackers, and see the controls that you have to put in place, or the compensating controls that has to come with it. Now, two, you have to invest in training. You have to invest in training and awareness and people. I keep advising my clients, the human factor is one of the weakest link in every organization. If I want to hack a bank or I have to hack a company, I just have to do a spear phishing attack, craft a nice email, embed it with malicious links, send it to a targeted employee that I know works there with his name, get his email address through social engineering, get access to him. He clicks that malicious email with attachment, and I move laterally on the network, escalate privileges, compromise critical accounts, and then the rest is history. So how can this be done? I keep saying, both our internal and our external customers as business, as we are trying to secure our day-to-day operations, we need to roll out training and awareness. So if your company, the honest lie on you to quarterly roll up a small training awareness, like you send them SMS, your client, you send them SMS, the bank or the company will not ask you of your PIN code to your ATM card, or your bank, your internet banking password or profile. So anytime anybody asks you these informations, you know that person is a bad guy. Okay, so these are what I call the basic cybersecurity hygiene that we have to give to both our internal and external customers. Now, to your guys, or to the guys who are working on the hardcore systems, the IT guys, you need to invest in them in terms of training, because they are running the day-to-day operation of your firm. They are the eye of the institution. They are, so to speak, securing your infrastructure, and attack vectors from hackers are becoming sophisticated lately. So what used to be the door to enter your company or the attack vector, today, by tomorrow, midday, it is changing because the attackers are working together and they are consulting and they are always coming out with new attack vectors. So we need to get these things and equip both our internal and external customers with security awareness. This will go a long way to reduce the attack surface. Yes. So, okay, again, we need to invest in the needed technology. As you are building your people up, you are giving them training, you need to give them the tools to work with, especially your security operation guys. Tools like what? So if a security operation guy works in a company, usually we call them SOC analysts or security specialists. These are the entry roles that most security guys start their career with. So security analysts, you need to give them the SIEM. Now, there are a lot of SIEMs in town. We have McAfee SIEM, we have the Microsoft Sentinel, M365, we have QRadar, from IBM, we have a lot. So get a SIEM, we even have Qualys. Qualys have their endpoint EDR, their endpoint detection and response. Initially, they used to have their Qualys asset scan, but now they are entering into endpoint detection, just like an AV, less like antivirus, an AI engineered antivirus or intelligence that, so to speak, looks at and predictive analysis to detect the intent of hackers even before they really cause harm in on your infrastructure. So there are a lot of vendors out there. You sit down where you go through the compliance, check your SOC 2, go through with them, check their audit report, and go for a tool. Or when I say a tool, it could be a software, it could be hardware, that your security team who are running the day-to-day operations or day-to-day safeguarding, and the military people on ground will be equipped to be able to averse the intent and attack of the hacker. So in an event, there's an attack. If you have good tools, there's good training, with equip your team with good training, both internal and external. You have identified your critical assets. As I've mentioned, you have done 3. The attacker, when he gets into your infrastructure, can be delayed and can quickly be detected. Because 1, you know your critical assets. You have done your vulnerability assessment. 2, you have invested in your people. You have the latest technology to work with AI inbuilt and machine learning and all that. So when you put these things in place, you are, so to speak, getting a par or even getting ahead. Usually it's difficult to get ahead of the hackers because hackers usually spend 6 months on your network without you noticing them to do what you call recon. They are studying your network diagram, infrastructure, data flows in and out, what goes here, what goes that, who have this privilege. So before they strike usually or attack, they have been with you for 6 months or even more. Okay, so with this, we can't compromise on our critical asset, because one psychology of the attacker is that there's no price for failure. I keep saying this. They can try as many times and they fail, they have no issues. But for you on the other side, as a business or as an entity or as an individual, when you are hit once, you are losing reputation, you are losing critical assets, you are losing finance, you are losing all that. It's something you cannot negotiate on because it's your live wire. Okay, each time I'm consulting, I keep telling my clients, yes, and those who are following through are really getting the benefit of it. Yes, so again, as we move on quickly, so we have to do, with all these protocols in place, the 4th thing to do is threat identification. Okay, so you have to identify your threats. The fact that you have your training, you have trained your security guys, both internal and external, you have the sophisticated tools, you have other protocols in place to secure infrastructure. You need to do threat hunting to identify potential threats. Okay, so let me take this opportunity to explain what risk, threat, and vulnerability is. Sometimes these things get even the senior most security consultants confused. So vulnerability is a weakness, okay, that the threat can take advantage of. Risk is the probability, is the likelihood that something bad will happen. Okay. Now the threat is the bad guy. An example of a threat is the attacker. He can come in and mess you up. Vulnerability example will be that you have a critical system and it doesn't have a patch. When I say a patch, it's losing a current update and you have not updated it. It's a weakness. You have a server that has generic names like admin, administrator, generic name that hackers can leverage on and get access to your infrastructure. Weakness, that is a vulnerability. So I'm taking my time to break these things down so that anytime risks, vulnerability, and threat are mentioned, you'll be able to, because as a security consultant, as security personnel, you need to get these basics, fundamentals very right, because that defines your journey as a security person. Because the whole aspect of security operations, security is we are managing our risk. We cannot take away risk, but we want to reduce it to the barest and acceptable level. So pen tester, incident responder, GRC professional, data engineer, security operations, security engineer, cloud engineer, we are all doing risk management. In a nutshell, we are all doing risk management. We are managing the risk to acceptable level. That company can run smoothly without having a lot of hitches. And even if you have hitches, it won't be as detrimental as it would have been if there's no trained guys or security professionals or controls in place. So you need to do your threat hunting, identify threats. You can do this from lessons learned from previous attacks and use it to safeguard your infrastructure. Again, I keep telling people anytime I get this opportunity that the adversary, the cyber criminals, the attackers, they work together. They have a consortium. It's a cartel. They share information. It is about time that we are the target. We have to also come together. And this is one of the things that we can also do. This conference is one of the things that we are also doing to, so to speak, one way or the other, beat the attacker or get closer to the attacker or the hacker. Because they work together. They are always training. They are always sharing information. They have something called the dark web. The dark web, they are critical card holder information there that they are selling, and they are live. ATM and MasterCards and credit cards and critical logins to critical infrastructures are there, they are selling. Why do you think they have created a page they are selling? Because they come together. And if they need something, they go there to buy it and they use it to attack. Actually, the per investigation, I think one of the recent hacks was as a result of GitHub leakage of information that was leaked on GitHub. So we need to be very careful and we need to take a note from that. Yeah, the fifth one. Yes. After you have identified the threat, you need to do a deep dive analysis that is where the incident, the DFIR, Digital Forensic and Incident Response Team, comes in. Okay, they pick over from the SOC analysts, the security operation guys. The security operation guys have a turnaround time, identify, investigate maximum, the SLA or the turnaround time could be 10, 7 to 15 minutes. Get your facts right, put them together in a nice email with a screenshot, push it to the incident response team. They would put them in a sandbox, do digital forensics, come out with information from it. Because the security operation guy is not responsible to do deep dive forensic analysis. Because as he's doing, events are happening, alerts are flowing. The same is triggering alert. So people are trying to hack the system. So he's the eye of the bank. He's the eye of the company. He's the eye of the infrastructure. He's the eye of the network. That the security operations guy or the security operations team. The digital and forensic team also takes it up as a second or third level. They do a deep dive that will possibly lead to prosecution of or identification of the perpetrators, their tactics, the TTP, what we call tactics and techniques that they are using, and then come out with information that we can use to pin these bad guys down, possibly for prosecution. So let's assume in a company, there's a fraud event happening. The SOC analysts have picked up. It quickly sends it to the digital and forensic team. They do a deep dive. They will analyze a couple of logs. They will see where the event started with timestamp, account that we use, account that was compromised, the movement in and out, the data flows, and they can put these things together, make meaning out of it, write a comprehensive, easy to understand report to management through the audit team, and then prosecution can be done or decision can be taken by management. So that is something we should not forget. As a SOC or as a security operations center, you are not supposed to focus the whole day on one event. No. If it's false positive, what we call false positive simply means that it's an alert that came in that is blowing a false alarm, that you don't have to spend much time on it. Okay. So these are things we need to put in place as a security operations team. Now, the sixth one on the bill, we have to recognize potential risk. Now you have investigated. You will definitely come out with risk or threats or weakness that are detrimental to your day-to-day operations. And when that happens, what happens? What would you do? You have to also do what? Put your security protocols there. You notice that the attacker was able to leverage on a generic account called admin or administrator or adminos that was not renamed or removed on a critical internet-facing server or critical application or critical network device, like a router that was not properly configured. And mind you, misconfiguration errors can also be a weakness that hackers can leverage on to get into your network. So you buy a new network device, you buy a new server, you buy a new internet-facing device, and you don't properly sanitize it, and you push it towards the internet. I mean, it's a low-hanging fruit for all the unthinkable attacks to happen on that server. And mind you, when it happens on that server, it moves laterally to other networks on the infrastructure, and you know what can happen. Yes. So that we won't take much time on this. Then we come to the last, I think the last one on the steps. Then we'll do what we call protective service implementation. This time you're not doing much of technical controls. You are doing much of compliance. We are moving more into GRC, governance, risk, and control. Okay, so you are putting policies in place. You are putting frameworks in place, ISO 25, ISO 27105, ISO 27101, and then PCI-DSS for your code environment. You are setting up a policy that will be approved by top management. And these are things you look at and do based on the 5-6 other steps you have followed. This will be a very good one as you put in place for your proper security operations. It will go a long way to help. Now let's do a little bit of the assurance aspect. Okay, so we have done security operations, information security. Let's look at how assurance comes in. So anytime you hear the word assurance in security operations, one thing that has to come in your mind is audit and compliance. These are the things that gives assurance. An example of audit report is the SOC 2, the latest SOC 2 report. With next presentation, we will look at those things. Today, let's focus on this one. So you have to look at your compliance. Compliance and audit gives assurance because the auditor looks at even audits or checks the security team that is protecting even the audit team or the whole infrastructure to see if there are audit exceptions, there are weaknesses. And if there are, they recommend. And anytime I'm consulting, I'm giving advisory services to clients, I say you should have a control self-assessment. You have risk champions in each unit that holds a BURC meeting, business unit risk champion meeting. These would help identify risk that is in every unit that the internal auditor, because audit is done periodically. It's like a project. It's not an everyday thing. Systems are there to give reports, but then pure audit has a scope and has steps that has to be followed. But if you have business unit risk champions, what I call the BURC team members in every unit, accounting team, audit team, HR, marketing, IT, security operations, you have your risk champions there. They have a report that they feed. They identify any risks, they put it in that report, in that application. That fuse into the risk register. It goes direct into the risk register. And then it will see the application owner, the risk owner, what controls can be put in place, what weakness it is that is causing that, what vulnerability is causing that risk, and all that. So there's a special template I always share with my clients when I'm consulting. I'm giving advisory services with them. So now you are doing cybersecurity, but you need to give assurance that customers can now invest their critical information with you. Their bank details are saved with you. Their cardholder data is saved with you. Because now we are in the bionic stage where data is down the new gold. So if my data is with the company and the protocols around it is not secured, you know what it means. And we like good book says, wherever your treasure is where your heart is. And everybody on this call, I'm sure, have a bank account. And I'm not sure at this stage you save our money in our house. We put in the bank account with a bank that we trust. So if they are holding our critical data, we need to make sure they are giving us assurance. After putting all the technical things in place, training all the guys, doing threat hunting, they need to give us assurance. Audit team and compliance team must make sure that policies are being followed. That has to do with the compliance. Audit is being done to the letter. Risk champions are raised from every unit and trained to report risk that surfaces in their unit or their department. Okay, that can later be discussed at a higher level. Yes. So in conclusions, no serious company can do without security operations, because your day-to-day activity is the operation that gives you money. It's the operation that generates the cash flows. If you don't operate, you don't generate cash flows. If you don't process cardholder data, if your clients, I'm referencing the bank because or critical cardholder environment, because that is where the focus is now in terms of attack. That doesn't mean other company that doesn't fall within this domain doesn't have to do that. But pardon me, let's focus on this one for easy understand, because all of us have bank accounts. Yes, presumably. So with that, you cannot operate because your operations generate the cash flow, as I said, without putting teams or protocols that will secure the operation that you are giving customers or that is giving you money. And I keep advising every CISO that is employed, CISO is Chief Information Security Officer, you have to go to the account department, ask them which unit produces or gives the company huge money, generate huge cash flows. And that is where the discussion has to start with. It doesn't mean you don't have to put controls in other units, but where the company gets its operations with a lot of cash flows is where the critical, that's where the cash cow is. And that's where you have to focus first, give priority as a CISO or as a consultant, consulting or giving advisory services to your clients. Yes. So I think this brings us to the end of the slide. I would now open the floor for contributions, questions and suggestions, if any.